sókè wá gbá o tágbà bá ń rojọ́ ọmọdé wọn á pa lọ́lọ́ ní o lọ́jọ́ ọjọ́ sí àwọn àgbà ìhùwà ìbàjẹ́ o tí wọ́n bá ṣèbàjẹ́ a ó ṣì gbà fún wọn ní o.
jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìbàjẹ́ mọ́ o ẹ jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìkà yìí o ẹ jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìbàjẹ́ mọ́ o ẹ jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìkà.
One more time.
ẹ jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìbàjẹ́ mọ́ o ẹ jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìkà yìí o ẹ jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìbàjẹ́ mọ́ o ẹ jẹ́ a máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìkà.
mo kí yín wípé ẹ kú ìyálẹ̀ta níbo ibi tí ẹ ti ń gbọ́ wa ní àkókò tá a wà yìí ẹ̀yin náà ti mọ̀ wípé ètò yín ètò wa ètò tó yẹ wípé ó ń ta àwọn aráàlú lólobó nípa lílò gbígbìn títà rírà ohun tí a ń pè ní oògùn olóró tàbí egbòogi olóró lóríṣiríṣi ọ̀nà tó yẹ pé ó bá farahàn mo kí yín ní ìyálẹ̀ta tòní wípé ṣé dáadáa ni ṣáájú ń wọgbá níbo ibi tí ẹ ti ń gbọ́ wa. It's a beautiful morning to say welcome on the program that sensitizes the citizens on how to prevent drug abuse and the things and steps that you can take to ensure that you stay healthy. And, of course, the persons and the organizations that are responsible for the sponsorship of this program are very amazing partners of ours right here at Midas Radio 90.5 FM. Aduikiti. This program is brought to you from the stables of the NDLEA State Command in partnership with the Adamulekun Foundation this morning. Good morning again. My name is Oluwasegun Adeleke. Eti momi tele bí ẹni mowó àti dé lórí ètò tí à ń pè ní NDLEA Water Half Hour lọ́jọ́ tòní. Kí ni ohun tí a mú wá? Kí ni a fẹ́ pẹ̀kẹ́lù lórí ètò láàárọ̀ yìí? What is it? What is the angle? What is it that we want to discuss on the program this morning? On today's edition of NDLEA Water Half Hour, NDLEA Ekiti State Command will give a review of recent enforcement operations of the command in Ekiti State with regards to the destruction of sativa plantations across the state. And of course, there is an update tó yẹ pé a gbọ́ lórí news lánàá wípé the NDLEA is suggesting to the federal government and the Ministry of Education that drug tests be done for students, undergraduates, before getting admission into schools. Maybe when we get the chance today to talk about that, a sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀ tó bá tó àsìkò tá a bá ní àǹfààní. Kí ni pàtàkì tó yẹ wípé àwọn ọmọléèwé tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ fẹ́ wọlé sílé ẹ̀kọ́ gíga wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ ṣe àyẹ̀wò nípa oògùn olóró kí wọ́n tó wọlé. But this morning, let me introduce our guests very, very quickly. Now, in a particular order, which is the right order, we'll do that very shortly. But of course, we have not just our guests in the house. Àní àwọn tó yẹ pé wọ́n jọ máa ń wá ní gbogbo ọgbà. Mo dẹ̀ ń kí wọn wípé wọ́n ṣeun wọ́n dẹ̀ káàbọ̀ sí iléeṣẹ́ Midas Radio 90.5 FM lákòókò tá a wà yìí. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n fi àsìkò yìí kí n máa fi kí ọ̀gá wa dáadáa tí wọ́n jẹ́ DCN Officer Adiola láàárọ̀ yìí. Òdú ni wọ́n kì í ṣe àìmọ̀ olóko. Mo kì í yín ẹ bá wa kí àwọn aráalé káàbọ̀ sórí ètò yìí.
Ẹ ṣé olóòtú, a kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa, gbogbo aráalé nílé àti lóko níbi tí ẹ ti ń gbọ́ wa.
Ẹ ṣeun gan ni. Now, the person I'll introduce now is Mr. Balogun Musa Adiola, officer who is the Deputy Commander of Narcotics and, of course, is the Head Drug Demand Reduction Department of NDLEA Ekiti State Command. And also with him this morning is someone I'm meeting for the first time, but I know that it's not going to be our last time that we are meeting this morning. I would like to introduce to you this morning Officer Sahabi Ayuba, who is a senior man. Of course, he's an assistant commander of narcotics. That's the ACN. And of course, the principal staff officer in charge of operations. A very good morning to you and welcome to Midas Radio.
Good morning.
How do you feel coming around this morning?
I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to start from you. What has been happening in Ekiti State from the NDLEA, from your own office? What are the things that you have been doing? We've been hearing this here and there, but I want you to mention some of these operations and activities that you have done in the past couple of months and weeks.
Indeed, I want to make an emphasis on Operation Weed Crusher, which we tagged it. In this aspect of Operation Weed Crusher, several and series of operations were carried out in an attempt to meet up the term Operation Weed Crusher. First and foremost, I want to say that on the 30th day of May 2024, we embark on an operation in which 426 kg of weed suspected to be cannabis sativa were seized from a 1.66 hectare farmland in Ara Ekiti Forest. And at the course of that operation, 2 suspects were arrested and they are presently under detention. After that, on the 14th day of June 2024, 18,425 kilograms of fresh nursery seedlings of cannabis were destroyed and sample stems of 10.7 kilograms seized from 7.3 hectares of farmland in Ise Forest Reserve. All under the term Operation Weed Crusher. We also embark on an operation on the 15th day of July 2024. A 55-year-old woman was arrested in possession of 4.2 kilograms of dried weed suspected to be cannabis sativa, as well as crystal substance suspected to be methamphetamine. Presently, investigation is ongoing, and after investigation, we'll see her charged to the court. Despite that, we also embark on an operation on the 27th July 2024, in which a 40-year-old man in person of Victor Dick was arrested with 24.7 kilograms of dried and fresh cannabis weeds in Ise Forest Reserve.
Well, we are going to come back to some of these achievements and some of these operations in a bit. But ẹ jẹ́ kí n wá sí ọ̀dọ̀ bàbá mi, Officer Adiola, tó yẹ pé a ní nǹkan ṣe lẹ́yìn studio yìí ju pé ká kíra wa torí ẹ lè rí mi ibi tí ò yẹ kẹ́ ẹ ti rí mi. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ jẹ́ kí n bi yín láàárọ̀ tòní wípé kí gan ni pàtàkì àwọn operations tí à ń ṣe yìí? Kí ni pàtàkì ẹ̀? Kí ni àǹfààní tó wà nínú pé a lọ síbi kan? Eléyìí tán dárúkọ tán pè ní weed crusher. Ṣé caterpillar lẹ gbé lọ́bẹ̀ ni? Kí ni àǹfààní àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ tí àjọ NDLEA ń gbé yìí?
Ṣé olótú gẹ́gẹ́ bí a ṣe sọ ní ọjọ́ tá a kọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò yìí, a ní ìgbógun ti oògùn olóró ó pín sí ọ̀nà méjì. Nǹkan tó fẹ́ràn wa létí náà ni. Àkọ́kọ́ náà ni reduction, supply reduction ní tí ó ti mẹ́nubà ní where arrest and seizure take place. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì ni enlightenment program tá à ń ṣe láti fi síra wa lóye, láti fi rán ara wa létí, láti fi kìlọ̀ fúnra wa pé oògùn olóró lílò kì í ṣe nǹkan tó dáa fún àgọ́ ara wa àti fún ọmọlúàbí. Ó ń ba àwùjọ jẹ́, ó ń ba ìdílé jẹ́, ó ń ba ní ọkọ láyà jẹ́, ó sì ń ṣe àkóbá fún ẹbí àti ará àti ojúlùmọ̀ wa. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí àpẹẹrẹ ní àná, wọ́n mú ọmọ kan wá, ó wà lọ́dọ̀ wa nísìn. Tí ẹ̀yin náà bá rí ọmọ yẹn kì í sí kan tá a lè gbé wá bí òbí tó bá rí á sunkún lánàá pé tí ọmọ tí wọ́n náwó lé lórí ló di báyìí. Ó ń jó ń gbọ̀n in fact ó ń ẹsibítì sọnù bí àdé sọ pé bí èèyàn ti ń ya orí ọpọlọ ti ń dàrú díẹ̀díẹ̀. So gbogbo nǹkan tí a fẹ́ ṣe ni pé tọ́lọ́run bá gbà níyànjú, tá a bá gbìyànjú lórí àmú àwọn tó ń tà tó ń gbẹ́ wọ̀nyí, lílò ká mọ́ lọ rà náà ní lílò àsìlò ẹ̀ àti káwọn ọ̀dọ́ máa lò ọ̀nà bá lè bá a ṣe tá a reduce ẹ̀ to the barest minimum tá a tí ó dínkù láwùjọ inú àwọn àjọ tá à ń ṣiṣẹ́ náà inú wa á dùn inú àwọn òbí náà á dùn bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ń gbọ́ àtìkàkà tí wọ́n ń pariwo mo mọ̀ pé mo gbọ́ lórí news pé ìjọba fẹ́ sìn kankan síbẹ̀ yẹn ṣùgbọ́n kó tó dìgbà yẹn ní bíi last tá a lè pè ní 4 or 3 months àlọ́bẹ̀ táwọn jẹ́ pé at least àwọn tó bá dìbẹ̀ náà wọ́n á rí ipa tá a kó bẹ̀ àti níbì kan bẹ̀ tán fi ń ṣe bí òtẹ́ẹ̀ tí wọ́n ti ń ṣèṣekúṣe lálẹ́ mọ́jú bẹ̀ amúlé yẹn tá a wó kanlẹ̀ nínú àti kankan bẹ̀ náà ni so à ń gbìyànjú láti rí i pé gbòòlóró títà àti lílò ó dínkù láwùjọ wa.
tọ ẹ ṣeun gan ni Officer Balogun Adéọlá ẹ ṣeun gan lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí lákàyè òní kúmọ̀ yín lórí. Of course, let me come back to ACN Sahabi Ayuba this morning. What would you say is the drive? Why do people really plant, sativa in Ekiti? Is it that the land is so fertile, or there are not other things that can be planted on that farm? For example, we are in a time of a lot of economic crunch in the country, and people can plant can plant maize, beans, and other things. Why sativa at this time?
Some other people have an ideology that they are brought up in growing certain types of crop. For instance, if you go to a Kwale man, he will say, I'm a Kwale person and what I know is cannabis. But there are other alternatives that give a return to investment and with your mind so cool that nobody is going to arrest you. For instance, if you dive into cocoa production, cocoa is so lucrative that when the return to investment is being calculated as compared to the drug crops, the profit is enormous. Apart from that, even the maize and other cassava, there are maize varieties which are improved that when you plant them under some agronomic conditions needed for the production, they will give so much return to investment that is even superior to drug crops. But people are not all aware about all these things, or people are not willing to go into the production as far as the cash and arable crops are concerned. But they divert into drug crop production, which at the end, if found, you will lose all the investment. Just as I told you that all that have been found are crushed and destroyed, in which you have total failure in what you have invested in the drug crop.
That is the weed crusher operation.
Yes, but in the contrast, when you plant crops like granite, maize, cocoa, coffee, the government will even benefit from you, because by so doing, your gross domestic product of your country will increase from what you produce if they will be exported. But the drug crops, nobody will even bring this out. It is illegal, it is termed illegal, and therefore it will not benefit the country, rather destroy the country.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Officer Adéọlá. So, ẹ já wò báyìí ní ìpínlẹ̀ Èkìtì gẹ́gẹ́ bí ohun tí wọ́n dárúkọ káàkiri àwọn ibì kan ní àwọn agbègbè àwọn nínú oko nínú lọ́hùn-ún lágbègbè Ìṣẹ̀ Forest Reserve Ara àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ẹ já wò báyìí àwọn kan ló ń gbin àwọn kìíní. Ṣùgbọ́n èmi náà máa ń lọ sóko ńgbà kan tó yẹ pé nínú náà lóko wá wà. Báwo gangan la ṣe lè mọ̀ wípé sativa igbó náà gbìn síbi tá a wà yìí, báwo la ṣe lè dá mọ̀ gan? Torí àwọn tí ò bá mọ̀ wọn ò ní lè sọ pé ẹ jọ̀ọ́ o wọ́n ti gbin ẹ̀gẹ́ síbí o wọ́n ti gbin eléyìí síbí o, sativa ló wà níbí. Báwo gan la ṣe lè dá mọ̀? Ṣó ní bó ṣe máa ń rùn jẹ́ pé àwọn aráàlú yóò fi dá mọ̀ pé ẹ mú ewé kankan dání báyìí láti fi ṣe àpèjúwe, torí pé nílé iṣẹ́ Midas Radio audiovisual là ń ṣe. Tẹ́ bá fi hàn báyìí àwọn aráalé wọn á lè dá mọ̀ wípé nǹkan báyìí bóyá lọ́sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ tọ̀ wọ́n ti ṣẹ́jú sí mi. Báwo la ṣe lè mọ̀ wípé nǹkan báyìí náà ń gbìn bí báyìí o, ọ̀nà wo là á gbà láti lè ké sí àwọn elétò sí ọ̀rọ̀ kan?
ẹ ṣe olóòtú, kí n tó fẹnu ba nǹkan tẹ̀ sọ, we urge àwọn èèyàn wa àti gbé campaign káàkiri ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn lọ́balọ́ba àti àwọn ìjòyè àti lọ àwọn ìlú kọ̀ọ̀kan ọ̀dọ́ àti káàkiri gbogbo ìlú Èkìtì. Ẹ̀rọ nǹkan tá a dẹ̀ máa ń sọ fún ọ tá a máa ń bẹ̀ wọ́n náà ni pé don't give your lands to àwọn tó ń gbẹ kínní. A mọ̀ pé tá a bá wo 80% or let me say 85 or 90% of Èkìtì àwọn ẹgbẹ́ kínní wọ́n wá láti ibìkan wá gbẹ̀ ni. Tá a bá dẹ̀ wọlé Èkìtì a rí i pé they have a very fertile land in Èkìtì. So àkọ́kọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ mi nìyẹn pé kájọ torí tá a bá fún wọn nílẹ̀ wọn ò ní gbé ká mọ̀ owó ká mọ̀ owó tó ń gbélẹ̀ tó ń gbé fún wọn. Then gẹ́gẹ́ bí kan tí ìbéèrè tẹ́ béèrè ẹni tó wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ mi ọ́fíìsà mi agency tún gbé ètò kan lẹ̀ báyìí ó ti yan ìgbìmọ̀ bíi ẹlẹ́nu bíi 5 lára àwọn officers wa ẹni náà ló máa head yẹ tá ń pè ní alternative development program alternative development program fún àwọn àgbẹ̀ náà ni lágbára Ọlọ́run tí wọ́n bá ti take off a máa lọ from village to village tá a bá sì ti ń lọ a kó sample sí àwọn cannabis lọ́wọ́ tá a jẹ́ kí ibi tá a bá ti lọ sí enlightenment program a kó samples igbó tí wọ́n ń gbẹ àpò lọ́wọ́ torí gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ sì sọ there is no deny the fact pé àwọn mi ò mọ̀ mo ti rẹ́ lómi tó bá rí bá ní pé òun ò rí igbó rí kódà òun mọ bó ṣe ń rí so á jẹ́ kí àwọn èèyàn wa á fi samples wọn kí wọ́n fi mọ̀ pé tẹ́ bá rí wàá ti rí àwọn tá a ti arrest nígbà kan níwájú ilé àti arrest igbó lẹ́yìn ìkúlẹ̀ lómi.
wọ́n dẹ̀ láwọn ò mọ̀ àwọn ò
dámọ̀ wáyé pé àwọn mọ̀ ni àwọn ò bá ti tú ẹlòmíì bóyá ibi tí ẹnìkan bá ti mú bóyá sídìí ẹ bọ́lẹ̀ sínú oko ẹ̀ bẹ̀tẹ̀ wọ́n ní ignorance of law is not an excuse. so tọwọ́ bá báyà ní sọ pé àtòrí pé mi dá mọ́mọ́ ẹ jẹ́ káà náà gbìyànjú ká wà àtẹ̀gbẹ́ sínú kọ́pà tó ṣe pé ẹni ìwé àtàbàngbélé a máa ń gbé rọ́ plant yẹ a máa ń gbé lọ́wọ́ tá a máa fi hàn
àwọn èèyàn
so that wọ́n fi mọ̀ pé kíní kò dáa but mo tún fẹ́ sọ náà pé let's say 80% of people àwọn kọ̀ọ̀kan ni wọ́n mọ̀ pẹ̀tà àlè deny the fact pé a lot of people doesn't see èmi gan bí ìgbà tí mo wọ sẹ́yìn mo tó mọ what is cannabis some drugs mo débi sẹ́yìn tó mọ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ kìnìún náà ò rí rí.
ẹ ṣeun gan ni let me come to our dear officer who is in charge of operations when it comes to enforcement, engaging the communities. Now, let's talk about some other achievements and some other projects that you were able to satisfy in the course of the year at your end.
Just as he was able to point out directly, there is this new program which the NDLA have just brought in, that is the Alternative Development Program. And what does that Alternative Development Program aim to achieve is that all where cannabis plantation have been planted before, that is such fields, should enable the community to engage in alternative crop production. You can plant tomato, you can plant rice, you can plant maize and other crops. And by so doing, when you come to such a place and plant alternative crops, it will make the cannabis cultivators to run away. Why? Because cannabis is an illegal plant, they always plant it in a remote area where law enforcement will not reach them. And therefore, if for any reason you decide to substitute that land that have been planted with cannabis with alternative crop, that means chasing the planters away.
So let me now come to the developing issue. Recently, NDLA commander proposed drug tests for admission seekers. Let's talk about that very quickly because of our time. Let's talk about that in a minute or two. What's your reaction to this?
Now, that's a very good one. Why? Because it will enable any school that is admitting a student to have an assurance that person I am admitting is not going to be a miscreant. Why? Because drug is a gateway to any kind of crime you can believe. And therefore, if you test any person prior to admission and believe that that person is drug-free and doesn't abuse drugs, you rest assured that you are admitting a good student and not a student that would likely cause chaos after being admitted in the school.
tọ́ bàbá wa kí ni èròǹgbà yín lórí eléyìí ẹ jẹ́ kí n sáré fi nọ́mbà wa léde kí ẹ bá lè pè wá 0915-090-5905 tàbí 0704-100-1905 ìpè kan péré láàmú tó ayé pé ó pọ̀ àmú méjì ní kíákíá ohun tí ẹ fẹ́ ṣe àfikún lórí àbí ìbéèrè tí ẹ fẹ́ bi wá lórí ètò tí a wà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí ètò NDLEA Water Half Hour ti Adámọ̀lẹ́kùn Foundation tó yẹ pé wọ́n gbé owó kalẹ̀ láti máa mú wá sí etí ìgbọ̀nyín tọ̀ ẹ bá wa tẹ̀síwájú.
ẹ ṣe olóòtú kí ni tẹ́síkì sàṣọ ẹ̀ àti ní lọ́fíìsì àdẹ̀gbogbo tá a bá ti lọ fún campaign àgbẹ̀ káàkiri oní 5,000 wà oní 10,000 wà tó bá tún yà á mọ̀ ṣàlàyé fún wa kì í ṣe ọ̀fẹ́ kẹ́ máa bínú àwọn alẹ́ àti headquarters wọn ti kó wa àdẹ̀sánwó yẹ direct sí headquarters ni.
ẹ já mú pé ní kíákíá. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, ẹ káàárọ̀. Good morning to you.
Yeah, this is Samson coming from Ado.
All right, Samson, talk to me very quickly.
Yes, I so much like this program. It's a good one. And I send my greetings to the officers there. To me, I think beyond testing the student before entry, we can equally make it as one of the assessment perfection per term. Because after testing and the student is getting admitted into the school, there's a tendency the student still engage secretly. So with this type of test on a timely basis or section basis, if you caution them from going back, so that is my contribution.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much. How do you also see this for secondary school students?
Now, for secondary school, it is equally important because there is this adage that catch them very young. If you are able to carry out all these tests from the secondary school people and understand that they are drug-free, it will give you a rest of mind that sending them to the university, that you are equally sending drug-free students to the university. And therefore, it is very essential and very good that at secondary level also we carry out drug tests routinely.
All right, Baba, ẹ bá wa ṣe àfikún yín ní kíákíá.
Tabaite wọ́n ní bàbá ìtẹ̀ pẹ̀pẹ́ rókò ní kékeré ó bá dàgbà tán kò ní pẹ̀pẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí òwe Yorùbá ká tètè tẹ́sítì wọn ká mọ̀ pé àwọn ti mọ̀ pé ọmọ tí ọmọ tó wà secondary sórí àní parọ́ bàbá kan parọ́ tán ra àwọn ọmọ secondary school gan wọ́n ti involve in all this drug abuse problem so tàbá ìtẹ̀ tẹ́sítì wọn ní early stage wàá fi mọ èyí tó bá ti ń ṣe àmọ́ ibi tó wà gbégbà wàá ètè mọ ìgbésẹ̀ tí wàá gbé lórí ẹ̀ kó tó di pé ó tẹ̀síwájú so àǹfààní ẹ̀ nìyẹn fún àwọn ọmọ secondary school.
tọ́ ẹ ṣeun gan ni ètò tí a mú wá tí ẹ̀ ń gbọ́ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ènìyàn ń pè ní NDLEA Water Half Hour tó yẹ pé ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Tuesday tó bá di aago 11:30 títí di aago 12 ni a mú ètò yìí wá ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Tuesday mo ti sọ fún yín láti lè ṣe Adámọ̀lẹ́kùn Foundation ẹnu mi àgò láàárọ̀ yìí láti lè ṣe NDLEA Ekiti State Command pẹ̀lú náà ni a ti mú ètò yìí wá sí etí ìgbọ̀yìn nítorí náà mo fẹ́ kí ẹ máa fetí sí i ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Tuesday ẹ̀yin náà ti mọ̀ wípé Olúwaṣẹ́gun Adélékè Media Health Advocate ni sọ pé gbogbo àǹfààní tí a bá ní láti mú ètò wá sí etí ìgbọ̀yìn tó yẹ pé yóò fún yín ní àǹfààní nípa ìlera ni nípa bí a ṣe ń gbé ìgbé ayé ìwà gbádùn gbogbo ẹ̀ pátápátá la ó máa ṣe lórí ètò yìí lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí ẹ jẹ́ kí n dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn àlejò wa tán wá láàárọ̀ yìí. I want to appreciate you for coming through on the program this morning. NDLEA Water Half Hour will come back next week. But before we go, your parting words. What are we doing now? What is the next line of action before we get out of the program this morning, Officer Ayuba?
We are trying to put a sensitization to people. They should know that trying to bring an education on things regarding to drug is very essential. If you know the root cause of drug and the consequences which drug will put you into, the better you desist from it.
Thank you very much, Baba.
Báwo ṣe jẹ́ náà nìyẹn ká tètè ká múra sí ọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ọmọ wa àti àrùn àwùjọ wa ká má bàa dára wa lẹ́bi lọ́jọ́ wájú pé ọjọ́ ọmọ wa ṣe rí báyìí ọlọ́wà dẹ̀ fún wa sí.
Àmín. ẹ ṣeun gan ni lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí àwọn àlejò mi láàárọ̀ ẹ̀ ní Officer Balogun Musa Adiola tí wọ́n jẹ́ DCN Head Demand Drug Demand Reduction Department àti Officer Sahabi Ayuba tí wọ́n jẹ́ Principal Staff Officer in charge of operations. Gbogbo àwọn tó yẹ kó wọ́n darapọ̀ mọ́ lójú òpó Facebook wa ní àkókò tá a wà yìí àdúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín ẹ bá wa share fídíò yẹn kí àwọn tó yẹ pé wọn ní àǹfààní láti gbọ́ program yìí kí wọ́n bá lè túbọ̀ tí a bá kúrò lórí ètò. Kí máa dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ PRO NDLEA State Command ìyẹn ni ọ̀gá mi dáadáa tẹ́ pé àjọ ń sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ní gbogbo ìgbà ni lórí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára àti nínú iléeṣẹ́ Midas Radio 90.5 FM Àdó Èkìtì mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ wọn láàárọ̀ yìí wọ́n jẹ́ Assistant Superintendent of Narcotics ní iléeṣẹ́ NDLEA State Command àti ní pàápàá àǹtí mi dàtọ́ pé bí ọkùnrin náà ni wọ́n Assistant Superintendent of Narcotics 2 tí orúkọ wọn jẹ́ Adékànlá Fọláṣadé. Orúkọ tèmi ni Olúwaṣẹ́gun Adélékè ẹ ti mọ̀ mí tẹ́lẹ̀ bí ẹni mowó ọkùnrin olólùfẹ́ jùlọ lórí rédíò The Media Health Advocate ni wọ́n fi ń gbé mi lárugẹ. Tó bá di ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ la ó máa pàdé o. Ó dàbọ̀.
ẹja máa bá wọn sọ kí wọ́n má ṣe hùwà ìbàjẹ́ mọ́ o.
kí ìrá olè òní bá ìjẹ kòkòrò kẹsùn kábàámọ̀ ní wísí olùwẹ́rẹ́ rẹ̀ yíyàjọ ní sùn lóru àjọkó gbógun ti àṣà gbígbé àti lílo egbògi olóró lálẹ́ NDLEA ẹ̀ka tùpínlẹ̀ Èkìtì lẹ́mọ̀ ìfọ́rẹ́rẹ́ àṣà gbígbé títà ìlòkulò àti títí fàyàwọ́ egbògi olóró lẹ́ ògidì fún gbé ayé ọmọ ẹ̀dá nǹkan bá mọ̀ dààmú lórúkọ méjì egbògi olóró lé mímu àti gbígbẹ́rẹ̀ ọyọ́ hàn ní lẹ́ọ̀ tàbí kẹsàn ní líú bẹ́ẹ̀ líyẹ̀ rán lọ́rùn àpàpàǹdodo